Good evening, Namaskara, for this Let Us Dream conference. It is a privilege to be giving the closing remarks for the first day's program. Education is something that every human being has a right to. Education is also, in my country, India, a fundamental right. Every child, every youth, every adult can claim to want to be educated. Best institutions, quality education at the cost of the government. The challenge and the big question that we are faced with almost on a daily basis at every level, especially among the poor, the marginalized, the vulnerable. Do we really have that quality education extended to these people? No, we don't. The education that is extended to the vulnerable, marginalized, poor is education that cannot be called education. It is literacy, sharing of knowledge, information, some academic matter that is going across to them. Of course, the system needs to be challenged. The system requires to be questioned, because when we speak of education, we need to understand that education is to gain knowledge, gain values, learn about principles and ethics of behavior, of language, of attitudes, to make each one of us better human beings, better individuals. So the question arises, is this what my schools and colleges and educational institutions impart? Today we know that teaching, the pedagogy, is lost. I am taught what somebody else thinks I need to be taught. Not what I want to learn, not what I am capable of learning, not what enhances my own talents and potential. Nothing that would make me a better person. In these years that we have been working through several organizations, particularly over the last 15 years, I have been working with Global Concerns India, and we work with children who have left their homes, and we normally have a nomenclature and call them children living on the streets, children dwelling on the pavements, children who might have been trafficked, children who go missing, children who are poor, children who might have got into conflict with law. They are rescued. A lot of work is being done to rehabilitate them. But the question that we need to ask, have we really restored their lives? Because when we talk of rehabilitation, we talk of education, we talk of formal school. What is being imparted at the formal schools or the non-formal schools or the bridge education that some people would call? We from Global Concerns India have been very, very particular that every child, for whatever it is worth, must complete formal schooling as the system is just now. We also realize that though education is a fundamental right of every child, most of these children are unable to afford, their parents and families are unable to afford quality education. And this quality education is expensive in many, many ways. And that is why we work with children who live in slums, sometimes with their families on the pavements, and children who may be rescued from trafficking, child labor, bonded labor. Those who have gone missing have been traced. And then the only first thing that comes to everybody's mind is they must go back to school. Okay. The schools that these families can afford for their children are government or government-aided schools, which are not free. So a little fees is helped with. But we realized that children find it difficult to cope with this scholastic education. Children find it difficult to have not gone to school for 10, 12 years and now suddenly into formal school. So Global Concerns India runs something called Assisted Learning Program. What is this assisted learning program? This is to help the child enrich his or her own potential and talent and be free, be supported, be mentored, helped to dream anything that he or she wants to become, to dream, to visualize and follow that dream without hesitancy, without being afraid. Learn to question. Learn to be able to share his or her point of view and opinion. The assisted learning program is conducted after school hours, inside the school premises. Of course, a lot of permissions and all of that is taken. But we also run these sessions and classes in the slums. We call these programs as creativity sessions, creativity centered. This is for the child to understand what it means to be punctual. Why should you be punctual? Why should you not use bad language? Why foul language must not be encouraged? Why violence must not be encouraged? Domestic violence is something that is so common, it's almost part of the landscape of many of the children's homes. But these sessions are to help them to understand that violence is not the beginning and end to settle scores, to get your viewpoint across, to be able to say that you're right. You can do this through dialogue, to conversation, to debate. And all of that is something that children are encouraged to practice. Reading, poem recitation, participate in drama, in theatre, in singing, in sports. Because often there is this conventional notion that children who come from the slums, children who may have been rescued, may not be able to learn all of this. Going to school itself is such a big boon. So these classes, we have seen over the last 14 years, have helped children to understand so much more about themselves, not feel that where they come from is important at all. It is important for them to understand, to work towards where they are going. And this is what we have learnt and seen. The children who may come from very abusive homes, very violent homes, have made for themselves better lives, have become better persons, have become stronger people who know that their potential can be used to the fullest. Civic responsibility of participating in activities, not just in their schools, but also their homes and their slums. Why you shouldn't waste water? Why should you be conscious about electricity? Why should you be conscious about paper? We see in schools, there is a systematic effort, because when I was younger, we used to keep our textbooks very neatly, very carefully, so that we can give it to students who will be coming into this class the next year. But see what has happened when we talk of capitalism, of commercialism, of education. The notebooks that I used this year cannot be used by any other child next year. You have to buy a new set of notebooks. Why? Is the workbook something that could have been separate? Could the workbook be the only one that is bought new by the student next year? The amount of paper being wasted, trees that we cut, the selfishness that I can do whatever I want with these textbooks, throw them. I don't even teach my children, keep your textbooks carefully. Maintain them well, cover them, don't scribble on them, because somebody else is going to use it again. And these are issues that we want to ask ourselves. Why can my system not become more caring? Why can my system not become more understanding? And why should I have different kinds of schools and different kinds of syllabus? We know that universal primary and secondary education cannot be achieved in the absence of safe, enabling learning environments in homes, schools, and communities. And the potential for meaningful learning throughout life for all individuals rests on this strong basic education foundation. Because without this education, adult learning, we are losing out on the essential means to combat poverty, fight all forms of discrimination, or even equip citizens to actively participate in development and governance. The assisted learning program that we hold in the schools and in the slums is to involve parents and children to learn together. Now, of course, that is a challenge, because we are not telling that we are going to sit through sessions and classes and what happened in the class and homework and things like that. But we're talking about values. We're talking about living. We're talking about dialogue and conversation. We're talking about ethical principles. And this empowers the communities to improve their lives and transform their condition. Because there is no fairness when there is no inclusive education. Inequity in education remains a serious challenge. And this inequity is widened in a number of countries, including India. Our experiences show that children with special needs, child laborers, children living on the streets, children trafficked and rescued have no special attention regarding their education or standards that need to be modified or resources that need to be amplified to effectively cater to these children. Not a single school in our country can actually claim that there are teachers who are qualified to attend to the demanding requisites of this exceptionally large section of vulnerable children and youth. In fact, coalitions across India and the world over are crying hoarse to strengthen CSO engagement, yet there are systematic efforts to categorically keep CSOs out of this important consultation, decreasing and shrinking even the little spaces that may be available, because the significance of CSOs and the engagement of CSOs in policy making, in strategic planning, implementation and monitoring is not being regarded as pertinent and important. What we need to ask ourselves today is education able to stand alone? Because you're looking at children, especially those who are vulnerable, which means food security and poverty are cited as major barriers to quality education. And this key factor widens the divide. This key issue makes situations even more abusive for the girls and poor women and young people, because we know that dropout rates are very high in the normal schools that are around across the country. Apart from this, gender disparities persist for everybody, especially those who are differently challenged, who have other kind of disabilities that they have to contend with. Many of the schools, whether they are private or whether they are the government, don't even have ramps for children who are differently abled. To add to this, there is the entire challenge of ethnicity, children who have migrated from other states, language, And these factors have not been looked at across schools. Persons in these situations find it even more difficult to even be part of the regular setup. The government's various commitments to rights of education remain unfulfilled, and whatever NGOs are doing, CSOs are doing, is almost just a drop in the ocean. It is against this backdrop that priority recommendations are being made as most urgent to get back on track to decisively address education as a fundamental aspect for all citizens. Education is essential for promoting peace, human rights, gender equality, cultural sensitivity, and sustainable development. And this is what organizations are trying to do across the world, especially so in India. Having children be participating in different forms of education, not just scholastic education alone, different kinds of education, learning through different forms of education and curricular. We have noticed that children want to participate and question the wrongs that adults are indulging in. And this becomes difficult when teachers are questioned by students. Very often teachers feel that students must not question them. Very often teachers also feel that students coming from the slums, students from poor backgrounds, Dalit students, do not have the right to question the teachers. This is a big challenge for us. At one end of the spectrum, we are talking to children about equality, about fairness. We're talking to children, encouraging them to ask questions. And then when it actually comes to them in school, they are being told, don't talk. What is taught is what you need to go back. Learn, memorize, rote memory, whatever it may be. But we are happy that these assisted learning programs and classes and sessions have made children realize to ask questions, to debate, discuss, and not be afraid to dream. We have children today who are working as chefs. We had one particular girl who has now joined the Chitrakala Parishad. But it was a big challenge for us to take her there because her family in the slum felt that sketching and painting and drawing can't actually be a profession that would actually fetch you money or you will get a good job. With a lot of convincing, a lot of counseling too, this child did her entrance exam and was immediately taken into the college. She has fared very well. She has done very well for herself because it is expensive to study in CKP. Your paintbrushes, your sketches, your pencils, your paper, all of that is something that the parents cannot afford. But we've had generous donors who've come forward through the schooling project, through Global Concerns India. And she is not just one example, we have several other examples. We have children who have got ranks in engineering. We have children who are working in Accenture as leaders. We have children who work as chefs, not in India, somewhere in London. We have several girls who are working with the airlines. And all of this has been possible not just with scholastic education, but with this education that your potential, your hard work, your dreams can be realized. We dream with our eyes open to celebrate life with our spirits, soaring to make it possible for every child, every youth, every woman, every adult to follow those dreams, to live life abundantly, to live life in all its fullness. And I'm very grateful for this conference with the nomenclature, Let Us Dream, with our eyes open and follow these dreams. And let us shout out loud, anybody can dream. Everybody must dream, irrespective of where they are, which family they may be born in, which caste they might belong to, which ethnicity they belong to, what language they speak, what food they eat, or what clothes they wear. And it is important for us to realize that we don't want to teach anybody anything, but we want to walk alongside, sit beside our children and our young people to be able to learn together, to be able to follow through with those dreams with our eyes open, so that all of us, each one of us, is able to live our life abundantly. Thank you.